The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday, the beginning of a new week in the Riv.
Oh, at least it's something in the Riv.
Yeah.
It was kind of a quiet weekend.
Yeah.
Not a lot going on except for the, national news about the shooting at the synagogue in Pittsburgh, which was shameful and hateful. I mean,
yeah. Well,
I don't care what people believe, but, there's no need to go into a synagogue or any other place and start shooting. And we're seeing that a lot lately in larger venues as well. Hate just seems to be bubbling over in the United States.
well, it does. And the thing that really fascinates me is this shock and awe that this happens. I mean, we still haven't figured out that Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain was right when he said, man is the only animal that can blush and the only one that needs to. We're the only species on the earth that kills for pleasure, kills for money, kills because of religious differences, figures out a way to do that. Most other animals in the animal kingdom kill for survival, for self-preservation and survival. Unfortunately, it's a trait we see throughout every corner of the earth, whether it's religion, whether it's the guy on one corner wants the other corner, all the people. If you made them all clones and they all had the same religion and same eye color, somebody would want something that somebody else has. Unfortunately, that's a trait, and all the hand-wringing in the world and trying to pretend that we can wish this away isn't going to, that's why we need military, that's why we need police, that's why we need things, because as the Special Operations motto says, people sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. You watch that movie, A Few Good Men, and you root for Tom Cruise taking the same position that the majority of people take. But what Colonel Jessup says was right. You want me on that wall, you need me on that wall. The fact is, there are always going to be barbarians at the gate. And no matter how, even if the majority of people are peaceful, that allows somebody there's going to be somebody trying to become the silverback. Somebody's going to try to get something that they think they can get because they are physically superior or they have weapons. It's just a condition. You can minimize it, and hopefully we can, and in some cultures they do. But you can't you can't completely eradicate it. And that's the thing that gets me. Obviously, there's been anti-Semitism for decades. And every once in a while, we have you see something, and people then, again, become horrified. And it's ironic, because as I walked into the studio today, there was a Holocaust poster out there that said, don't forget me. And it's rather ironic that we're talking about this now, because people have a tendency to forget. There are some people that even discount that the Holocaust ever took place. And as a matter of fact, in Britain, they wanted to stop teaching the Holocaust in their history courses because it offended Muslims. I don't know how learning history and an accurate portrayal can offend anybody. It's just a reality. But, you know, it was a tragedy. I mean, it's the largest loss of life, I believe, that's ever taken place in the Jewish community.
In the United States.
In the United States, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk about, you know, because if we look at, all we have to do is, you know, we can't pretend the Holocaust didn't happen. We can't pretend that there are people that have. They'll figure out a way to hate. If it's not anti-Semitism, it's some other reason, and we see it all the time. And it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And, you know, I mean, obviously we have to be very, very disturbed that this happens, but we also have to be very vigilant. And the way to eradicate this is to be vigilant, and you have to really do what people don't want to think about. They want to think they can wish it away, but we need law enforcement and federal agencies to look into these hate groups and try to do it. And with all that, you can't stop it. I mean, all we have to do is look at the problems they had in Northern Ireland for decades upon decades. People of the same nationality killing each other and killing British troops too. And no matter how, and they had half of the British Army over there, and they still couldn't stop it, because the reality is, if somebody wants to commit a terrorist act and is willing to die perpetrating that act, they'll probably do it. And it's a terrible thing. But you know, you gotta kind of get out of your you know, your Pollyannish kind of attitudes and think that we can do it any other way but by always being vigilant, as the Romans said so long ago, when they were actually not hedonistic and didn't care, when they fundamentally had control over most of the known world. They had a saying which is true: if you want peace, prepare for war. And that's the reality. You know, constant vigilance is something that's a necessity. You know, I mean, all you have to do is look around the world. They've figured out, probably if you and I start sitting here throwing reasons back and forth, we can come up with 25 different reasons why people will figure out that's a reason to go and hurt somebody else. In the Middle East, they fundamentally, the Muslims have been fighting each other for thousands of years, because we fought them for 400 years in the Crusades. Religion, ethnicity, color, you name it, they'll figure out a reason. And then all it is an excuse to gain something. And it's a horrible thing, but that's the way it is.
You know, the sad part about it is we've taken political correctness so far that you can't say anything or do anything anymore. 2 weeks ago on Bill Maher, he was talking about the fact that he started his show with a program called Politically Incorrect, because he wasn't politically correct at all. And they talked about everything. And nobody said anything about it, no matter what words were used, because he said it right outright. This is politically incorrect. But now he couldn't do that, and he said that in his show. It's been 50 some odd years or something that he's been doing the show or whatever. And he said you can't do it anymore. You can't say anything, because no matter what you say, they're going to come down on you. You know, Megyn Kelly at NBC, she talked about blackface costumes, and, you know, they took her off the air because she wasn't being sympathetic to the Afro-Americans, and that the minstrel shows were, you know, degrading them. And but that was, I mean, that's what costumes were back then. People did things like that, and they weren't doing them to be degrading. They did them because they were doing them. I mean, do I think it was right? No, but do you take somebody off the air because they said something like that? Do you?
Well, you do today.
Today you do.
You do today, and I think that, you know, we came up in an era where people within their own ethnicity used to make fun of each other.
That's right.
There were all kinds of French jokes and Polish jokes and Portuguese jokes, and maybe people had a thicker skin, and maybe they didn't try to, they weren't they didn't have the perspective that, like they do with guns, that if we continue to pass laws, we're going to eliminate crime, even though that's an absurdity, because they haven't figured out that people that violate laws don't abide by laws,
That's
obviously,
right.
because there's a law. You can't legislate morality. You can't legislate that away. And that's what we got now. We've got the politically correct police, and nobody can make any kind of comment. Well, I guess to carry the ridiculous to the sublime, since we're having a semi-philosophical discussion here, I guess we should ban mimes.
Yeah.
Because they have white face.
Yeah.
Right? So is that insensitive to white people because mimes paint themselves white? I mean, it was something in another era, and obviously there are things now because of, see, they correlate all these things. They take something that was done for, fundamentally as a joke, and people used to make jokes about themselves, and that's a problem. You can't, it's kind of like it's kind of like sexual harassment in a workplace. I had this discussion a while back, and they said, we have to have a zero tolerance policy, because where do you draw the line if you allow some of it? And it's true. If on one day a joke might be okay, and on another day you might think it's inappropriate. And I discussed this with somebody who got a little out of control because somebody told a joke, and that person had always allowed those kind of jokes to be told. But
I have to break in here. Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The recall petition has been approved.
Uh-oh. The clock
starts.
has started. Okay.
The clock starts once they get those petitions, which will probably be today or tomorrow, most likely this afternoon, and they'll have 20 days from today, 20 days, to collect over 2,500 signatures. They'll be given the exact count that they need, but it's going to be very interesting to find out what happens now.
Yeah, it is.
And remember, Jazel said to Dawn Surratt, "I will sign your petition."
Of course, it's the politically correct thing to do.
That's it,
And he signed ours, too.
Although we could never find the signature.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't his fault. He did sign it. But, no, to get back to this thing of over-correctness, years ago, people used to be able to laugh at themselves a little bit, and where do you draw the line? I was talking about sexual harassment, zero tolerance, but there are certain things, if they're done in a certain context, that, you may not care for them, but they can, there are colloquialisms, colloquial expressions that people don't like. Politically incorrect now to call a doctor a quack that you don't like. It's a characterization that doctors don't like, but now we're going to ban every single thing, and that's okay. If you think you're convoluted and you're a little bit Pollyannish if you believe that if we don't talk about something, it's not going to occur. And as I said before, there's a sign right out there in the lobby. I just walked by. Don't forget, never forget the Holocaust. But we're trying to eradicate that. People are offended by talk about it. In Britain, they want to eliminate it, being even taught. Is that the answer? No, it's not. Because the fact is that we have to realize that, a few good men was right. You had the politically correct naval officer, Tom Cruise, talking to the Marine colonel who did something that was totally inexcusable, but he made an accurate statement. You need people on the wall. You want people on the wall. You have to keep the barbarians away. And if you don't, as I said, and I didn't say that, and even Special Operations and soldiers didn't say that. That motto came from James Orwell. He's the one who wrote, "People sleep peacefully in their beds at night because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf." And that's the reality. The reality is, without a strong military, do you think that we wouldn't have been invaded? Do you think without a strong military that we wouldn't be speaking German right now? But it's a necessity that we don't like to accept. most people don't want to accept that. They don't want to think about it. We have men and women every day putting their life on the line for this nation in Afghanistan and in Iraq and all over the world and other places you don't know. And that's a reality. But we don't want to hear about it most of the time. We're going to pretend it doesn't happen. We try to create this, manufacture this world that's like Wonderland. It's like going down a rabbit hole. And everything is going to be politically correct, and we're going to legislate morality and legislate gun crime away. And this is all going to happen because we want it to happen. Well, you can have that opinion. I disagree. I agree with the Romans. If you want peace, prepare for war. We need police. We need a military. And we need a CIA and an FBI, and we need to be vigilant all the time. Because somewhere, one of those human beings, the only species that can blush, is contemplating an action that's going to make us blush. So, well, this was quite the off-topic discussion.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was
seeing what we had planned for, and now that we know the recall is going to happen,
yeah.
If they get their petitions today, which I'm assuming they will, because I remember when we filed it, we got them the day we filed it, correct?
Yeah, that afternoon, because we went across the street and numbered all the petitions.
That's right. We got them that afternoon. 20 days, they'll get them this afternoon most likely. So 20 days from today will be November 17th, which is a Saturday, which means they'll get until 5 o'clock on November 19th to turn in their signatures. So they'll get an extra 2 days. And that happened to us, because ours fell on a Monday. But the Monday was the holiday, so we got the next day. I remember that.
That's right.
But this is going to be interesting to see because, again, the minimum number of signatures necessary is going to be approximately 125 a day. 125 a day. And this isn't the summer.
No.
This isn't the summer where it's warm and you can be out there till 8 o'clock at night and you can be collecting these signatures because now you're, your time frames are going to be limited. The other thing is, and this I don't have this confirmed yet, but they wanted to station people at the polls to collect signatures at the polling places, which they can do, but they have to stay 150 feet away from the polls, just like everyone else.
Like everyone else, yeah.
Just like everyone else. So it's going to be a little. That's going to be a little difficult. But I mean, when you consider the poor turnouts we have, if they can get even 5% of what turns out, they'll be doing better than most people.
Well, let's see how many potential special election mayoral candidates are helping with the petition
That's going to be the next thing.
That's going to be the next thing to look at politically, because we've already heard a few names that have been bantered around about a special election.
Right.
So you may see a push by some of these people who are looking for a special election. But then again, as I said, I think the legal challenges are going to make our legal challenges pale by comparison, because there truly is an issue here that is a lot more abstract than ours. We basically, our petition was about his lack of performance in his duties as mayor. This is about, do the people have the right, and I truly believe they do. But his side's going to contend that by doing this, we're removing him from his office and thereby convicting him, making him guilty before proven innocent, which I disagree with, because what we're saying is that we don't feel he can execute the office because of that perception, and the people have every right to do that.
That's right.
And that's the key. But theoretically, that could go to the Supreme Court of the United States, because we're getting down to a very fundamental, as we said on the other show, a very fundamental right, a right that this nation was basically created on, the right of the people to control its government, of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when a government fails to work for the people, as our Declaration of Independence so clearly puts it, and I'm paraphrasing, you have not only a right, but a duty to replace that government. And if that means an individual who you don't feel is harming the city by remaining in that office, we have every right. That's why I was totally incensed by the fact that people were giving us a hard time and talking about price again, like Steve Camara did about the litigation.
They're already talking about that again.
The price. Well, $10 million to take care of to one of his campaign supporters' streets, that's no big deal.
Right.
Right? No big deal. Let's bond for another. Let's bond for another $5 million for something else, and another $1 million here, and another $1 million there for political friends, and let's give out pay raises. Remember, Kathy Ann Viveris got a pay raise that almost will be equal to the cost of having a special election. Now you add Mary Sahadi's pay raise, so you're going to tell me that to allow the people to speak, that's a waste of money? Oh, we got to work. Let's wring our hands. Oh my God, we're going to spend $60,000 or $40,000. But we can give Kathy Ann Viveris and Mary Sahadi 60 grand in pay raises. Forget about, we're not even adding all the other pay raises.
Exactly.
So, you know, this is nothing but manure. Because the fact is, if there's one thing that we should spend the taxpayers' dollars on, public safety, education, and to allow the people to speak. And as far as I'm concerned, the easiest thing to do should be to get a recall.
I know, and they make it so difficult. I mean, I don't know why it took them so many petitions to get this thing approved, but obviously they've done it, so.
Yeah, now comes the fun.
Now comes the fun
Let's
part.
see how many mayoral candidates are out there getting signatures, calling all their friends. And, you know, realistically, I'm signing.
I'm signing it, too.
You know, I'm signing. And because I truly believe, and it's my opinion, and his supporters can have the exact opposite opinion. I truly believe, as I've said numerous times here and on the council floor, that is a job that perception is just as important as performance, and that a man with these charges, regardless of who he is, Jazel Correa, Sam Sutter, and when he was a DA, if Sam Sutter got indicted for murder as a DA, he would have had to step down.
That's right.
As a mayor, if you get indicted, you know, the perception of the chief executive officer of this city is not conducive to moving government forward. So I truly believe, I hope they're successful. I wish them all the luck in the world on their endeavor.
Because it's definitely not going to be easy.
No, it's not. We know that. And like I said, it's not the things that people see. It's not even getting the signatures. It's the litigation afterwards. You know, dealing with you know, a challenge of all these voter signatures, their legibility, correct addresses, and then in, you know, probably in front of the Board of Elections, and probably in court, and probably in appeal.
Because the Board of Elections all recused themselves because they were appointed by the mayor.
That's right. Yeah, that was a circus. But you know, it's not an easy thing. There are a lot of far more moving parts to a recall than people realize. They don't realize that we had people sitting around in the kitchen checking, with all the copies that we made, checking all the signatures, making sure that the addresses match the signatures, anything that we thought was questionable, not just one person. The whole bunch of people that were sitting around a table would all look at it and say, can you make it out? Can you make, oh, is there going to be a challenge? Is the handwriting, blah, 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 you know. And we had to document all that stuff and collate all that data to prepare for a legal challenge. So, you know, most people out there think, sign a recall petition, we get the signatures, that's it. It's a done deal. It's far from a done deal.
Far from a done deal. Now, and the thing is that we collected a little over 5,000 signatures, but we only got 3,000 and change certified.
Yep.
That's how many they say they couldn't verify. And we verified all of our signatures.
That's right.
But our verification doesn't mean anything. The verification of the election office meant something.
Yeah.
And it makes it very difficult. And
there's also the chain. Remember, they challenged the chain of custody of the petitions.
Yep.
Did you know where these petitions went? Well, we did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, we tracked them really closely. So we knew who got them, when they got them. We picked them up. Either you or I picked up everything personally. Nobody else brought, but we picked them up at the end of every day. Every completed petition, we made copies. So there's a lot to that process. You know, unbeknownst to most people, they think it's just a walk in the park. You know, and it's not. You know, they think, okay, you got the okay, get the petitions, we'll get the signatures, and like you said, they got all kinds of reasons and all kinds of legal challenges that some of them might be thrown out. And the reality is, as you said, we got over 5,000, and we got about what, 3,500 or something?
Yeah, 3,505 or 3,550. I can't remember.
So, we lost almost 1,500.
Right. And we were very good on checking those signatures out. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. And again, I'm not worried so much about collecting the signatures. I want to see who's going to throw their hat into the mayoral ring.
Well, you and me both. I want to see how many. And speaking, that was a nice little segue. You talked about how this is going to pan out because we've got a story too of today.
True, panhandlers. They're getting arrested in Fall River finally. Unbelievable. And I love the way that one of the panhandlers said, I'm going to defend my corner or something along that line.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's an occupation. But, let's face it, begging is the second oldest profession. We all know what the first oldest profession is. But the
Jason knows what it is.
The second oldest profession, adult entertainment. one of the segments of adult entertainment is the oldest. But I mean, look, how many years do you go back into history? The Egyptians, alms for the poor, people begging in the streets. That's been, but the thing we talk about now is at intersections and traffic. But while we're about poor, I got a call yesterday from someone who I know who works at Amazon. I got to say this is kind of a semi-public service announcement to all you people out there looking for jobs. I think it's pretty important because we've talked a lot about Amazon and not being able to get people from Fall River. Well, it might be a little bit better right now because I was told by this individual who works in, works in recruitment that they have now. They are actively recruiting for, obviously, for the holidays, but these positions can transition into full-time positions if you work out well. But they've actually waived the requirement for a high school diploma. And they also have bilingual people for interviews for people who don't. And if they get enough people who they need bilingual, they're going to assign, bilingual interpreters there to help them and stuff. But you still have to do the drug test and get obviously the screenings.
Right.
But I was told it was $15 an hour with overtime over the holidays possibly, and you'll get virtually an employment interview if you show up there at their headquarters. You'll get an interview the same day you fill out the form. And the high school diploma is not going to be required, although I think everybody, if they do get a job, should come back and get their diploma, get their GED, and continue on because, as Gandhi once said, live as if you were to die tomorrow, learn as if you were to live forever. So, education is the greatest asset you can have in your life.
We just received a message from somebody saying, what about convicted felons?
No, I just said, no, they made it very clear to me when I was called that they waived the high school diploma, but they still require drug testing and a Corey check. So, but there are a lot of people looking for a job, and $15 an hour, and and if you're a worker. I thought it was something because we've talked about, not a lot of Fall River people got into Amazon, but now a lot of them maybe applied, didn't have the diploma, and they've waived that. I think it's a fairly important thing to mention. So. Yeah,
it is. It definitely is. And, but yeah, people will say that convicted felons are entitled to a job, and they are, but.
Wait a minute, that's being politically correct. No.
That's being politically correct, yes. So, but
they can hold office.
They can hold office. That's
they can hold office, but they can't. But they can't. They can't work at Amazon.
They can't work at Amazon. Hey, thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday, and good luck, recallers, because now it's your name. It's off of our back.
And let's see how many potential candidates in a special election are out there helping get signatures.
Yeah, we'll see, because remember, they can use their own volunteers to get those signatures.
That's right.
Have a good day, everyone.
Stay angry.